came from a small town in Denmark where I grew up, luckily with some mates that also loved playing football, and it was one of those things that drove me as well, and just enjoyed playing the game. Same as a lot of you started out in wherever you live, in smaller or bigger city, that you play the game that you love and you do the training because you enjoy it and you want to be in a team environment for the most of you. So that's how I started, and I ended up playing for Ajax and Man U, and then later on in France as well for the Danish national team. So very lucky to have been playing for these clubs, but also been playing with some unbelievable players on the way. So that's a little bit of the start of my journey.
We all start somewhere and we all want to end somewhere. And it's the process in between that's a really important thing. Whether you make it to play internationally or you play at your community club or you get to be on Broadway, the most important thing is that you enjoy the journey and you're learning along the way. Yeah, that's something you enjoy and something you love to do. So we're going to be, especially the soccer boys, we're pretty privileged, and girls, to have Jesper here for just over a week and a half. He's someone with a wealth of experience. Like you said, he's played, at the highest level. He's represented his country over 40 times, played in Euros, won an FA Cup, and not many players, professionals, have that on their resume. So make the most of the opportunity you have.
Yeah, I've been here 14 years, so was here when the A-League started and never played in it. I've coached him one season or 18 months for the Melbourne Heart when the club started out. So
we don't talk
and then
about
left.
Melbourne Heart in the school, yeah,
so that's, I had 18 months there and really enjoyed it. But I obviously followed Melbourne Victory at a closer range. So what was it like to make it as I mean, you were a little bit older when you came through and played for Melbourne Victory and for Australia.
Yeah, look, I was 27 when I got selected at Victory. That's something we spoke about before, in terms of what is the right age. When do you say, oh, have I made it, haven't I? I had to wait till I was 27, so 10 years older than most of you guys out here. And it was something that I at one stage didn't think was going to happen, because in the first year of the A-League, all the newspapers were putting out the lists, and there was a Victory team that they thought, here's the 20 players that could be selected. And I was in that list. My name was put down as a potential player for Victory in the first year, and I missed out that year. And I went back to my local MPL club, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep going. I had my best year as a defender. I think I scored 8 goals that year, won the best and fairest, and the year after I got selected. So for me, that was something of a learning curve. And so, you know what, if you believe in yourself and you have enough determination to make it, you'll get a chance. And I was lucky enough to make it. And playing in front of my home crowd, winning championships, obviously a highlight for me. And like you know yourself, the ultimate highlight for a player or a sports person is to represent your country. So for me, that was definitely a highlight, to actually be able to put on the top and step out on the field and play.
Who was the best player you played with?
Probably at the time it would have to be Harry Kewell. He was at his peak then. He was playing in England, and he was at his best then. Harry Kewell. Lucas Neal was another one that was at his peak, and I was lucky enough to spend a month with those guys on tour, and 2 weeks in Dubai. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to get a game, get 2 games, and for me they're probably the 2 standouts.
In Denmark, obviously it's winter and summer, very different. So I would normally go to school, go back. My mum had a shop, leave my school back there, go to the bus station, take a bus, then go from the bus station to training, which was about in another city, probably about 20 minutes from the bus station. So either somebody I was lucky enough to pick me up, or I had to walk. Then after training, either somebody dropped me off, or I had to walk back, take the bus home, and then walk home. So I'm back at 10 o'clock in the evening. So this is a long day, obviously, when you do that 2 or 3 times a week. But there was never any stage where I thought, some days you're tired, obviously, but there was never a stage where I thought, I don't want to go to training. I love training and I love playing games. So that was part of this, what we nowadays, and we call this a lot of sacrifices. Of course there's sacrifices, but it didn't feel like it, because when my mates went out on a Saturday night, and if I had to play on a Sunday, when we were together early in the evening, I would go home and they would go out. And I had no problem with that. I had to choose the times when I could go out with them, but I had something in my mind, something I wanted to go and try and see if I could fulfill my dreams. And this is, I think, what spurs everybody on, not only in sport, I think in business too, or whatever it is that we do, that all that side of it, of course, you have to sometimes let go and not be with your mates all the time or with your family, but they will always be around, and there's always a way to catch up again. So that was one of the things that I certainly found was not a sacrifice. It was just a part of that journey as well.
So what was it like in Denmark growing up in terms of football and your sport as a young?
Yeah, so we would, well, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier today. I think sometimes when you're younger, we don't always listen, and it's hard. I'm a bit older now to look back when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, and some coach was standing in front of you, or somebody was trying to explain something to you. We were not always listening, and that was probably something when you later on look back, you could probably have picked up a lot more valuable information if you had listened a bit more, but that's also an age thing. So sometimes you wonder what else you could maybe have picked up on the way. But in Denmark, again, we played outdoor in the summer and indoor in winter. And every weekend we would play indoor tournaments. And it was with hoardings, so the ball was always being play, and it would be very fast. So technically, you had to improve your skills, but also your fitness was mostly very, very good. So I think that's where I learned a lot as a player, to understand how to stand up, defend, even though I'm not a defender, but defending, when to attack the ball, when to hold off, and also to, it was driven into us a little bit, you wanted to win, but if you didn't win, then it was forgotten 5 minutes later, and you go with your mates in the car back to your town and do whatever you have to do, which a little bit nowadays we're trying to make everybody get a medal, even if we don't finish off first, second or third and stuff like that. And those things have also changed a lot. So nowadays it was either you win, but there was a lot of teams that obviously didn't win, so it was only a matter of trying to do your best and then carry on learning your trade as you went along. Yep. So that's a typical Danish. I mean, in the winter I've played where there was like snow here in the beginning of the sessions where we trained, and then when you run in the snow, obviously it gets a little bit less or lower and stuff like that. So, but that was the way it was and still is in Denmark, but obviously the facilities nowadays are a lot better. Yeah. So,
in terms of favourite memories for club and for country, is there any particular that stand out for both, for club and country?
Yeah, I think the first game you always play, I think I was, it's strange actually, the first game I played was in Russia in 1980 before the Olympic Games. So I traveled to Russia, and it was at a stage where obviously Russia was a communist country, and it was all the children had been taken out of the main city, Moscow, because of all the people coming in from other countries to be part of the Olympic Games. So that was a bit of a strange thing for us, and it was a great experience again, amazing experience to be a place like that where you normally couldn't just get in. It was purely because of our sport, obviously. So that's one I remember. Man United first game, Ajax first game, and those things always sticks in your mind, obviously. So
who was your debut for Man United against? Remember who it was?
It was Watford. Yeah, it was a horrible team to play in those days. Watford. It was long balls and a lot of physical stuff. So, but that was the English league as well in a lot of the games. So, and again, like you guys watch, and you girls watch, obviously teams when at your age now, when you're watching them on television and getting to know their names. It was the same for me. I watched a lot of English football in Denmark, and fully enjoyed it to watch some of those fantastic players they had in those days.
As a younger player, did you find that you learnt off the older players, or was it something that you looked at, or watching games, was it something in particular that you thought, you know, I can learn from these guys? Or was there anything as a younger player that you thought, you know, how do I improve? What's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, I think the mentality in Denmark and Holland was certainly that everybody would help, so the experienced players would help the younger players. So I don't know if you Marco van Basten, Rijkaard, does that ring a bell?
Boys and girls know those names?
Yeah? Okay. So Van Basten and Rijkaard, I played with them, and they were only 18, I was 20 at the time, and there was some older players. Johan Cruyff, you know Johan Cruyff? And another older player called Wim Jansen, and they were fantastic with the young players in terms of talking to them about the position, where you should be defending-wise and stuff like that. So great mentality, and I think it's a great experience as well when you see older players trying to help younger players getting on that path as well. And obviously they went on to do incredible things with not only with Ajax and Holland, but also AC Milan. So that was hugely important to us to be taught by players like that. And I mean, the training was just fantastic. That was probably what I enjoyed the most, being in Holland and in France later on. In England, the training was completely different. There were so many games, so you didn't train a lot during the week. There was game upon game, so that was very different, and that was something I certainly enjoyed less. But obviously, then the games were much harder in England too, so that was a good reason for not training as much.
Yeah.
So.
And nowadays, a lot of schools and in this generation having the opportunity to train at school during school hours, something I never got to do. Is that something you experienced at school, or was football something that you just took upon yourself in your own time, or did you have opportunities to train during the day? Or
No, we didn't. I mean, we would, and again, as times have changed, obviously, we would train with our mates at school, after school, at the weekends, down on the football pitch. Everybody lived in the same area, obviously, and all the football players were together whenever there was a chance to go and have a game. And we played a lot without knowing it. And I suppose in the backyard as well, where I grew up with my mum's shop there, I spent hours kicking the ball against the wall. And I know the quality here was not the greatest. It's a long time ago, but they are the things that later on you realize all those hours spent doing that is obviously something that makes a difference later on. You don't understand that at the time. But same with all of you, whatever sport you're in, all those hours that we now see a lot of young people nowadays sitting in front of, and you have different opportunities with whatever is called Xbox and all the other different things that can be used to play with. And I know that's, my son is 18, Xbox all the time. But those hours, if you spend it somewhere else where you actually can improve what you're trying to do, will obviously makes a huge difference.